Terrier may have been a small engine, the smallest on the railway in fact, but he still has his important role to play. He runs scenic trains up into the hills and back again. The train crosses the iconic suspension bridge, passing over the main line and down the hill into the winding valley. He is very proud of his route, the High Line as he liked to call it, and of his 3 coaches he always pulls, which is why he is rather protective, especially after Big Yank had damaged part of the line while showing off one time. The line had now been repaired and had been made even more beautiful than ever before. However, this also meant that Terrier had become even more defensive and protective, and wouldn't let the others forget it. One afternoon, Prairie started to grumble about Terrier's attitude.
He's too enclosed, that's his problem. He hardly talks to anyone anymore because he's too cooped up on that line of his. He won't let anyone else to even tread wheels on it.
He's just proud of it, that's why. After all, it is one of the most popular attractions the railway boasts of.
Oh, and to add to that, he has been running the line longer than any of us, so he's naturally going to be close to it. Ah, that must be my guard's whistle. I must go now. Good luck trying to convince him.
Mind you, I'd like to have a run on his line for a change. Even an engine like Terrier needs a rest every so often. I'll ask him if we can swap for a day or so. I'm sure he won't mind that much.
That was easier said than done. When Prairie came across Terrier later and told him his suggestion, Terrier was furious.
Absolutely not! If you think I'm letting you and your disgusting loads run on my beautiful rails, you're crazy. First it's 1 engine, then 2, then 3, and before I know it, everyone but me will be running my route.
Prairie was taken aback.
It's just for a day or so. It's not doing any harm after all.
It might do should you ever suggest something like that to me again. And if I catch you so much as treading half a wheel spoke on my line, I'll bite your axles off! Now go away!
Terrier shunted crossly away, leaving Prairie alone, feeling quite disgruntled.
What a character. If I were in his wheels, I'd handle his passengers far better.
What neither engine realised was that they were in for quite an unexpected surprise. About a week later on a beautiful warm evening at dusk, Prairie had collected a trainload of ballast from the construction site and was shunting them carefully into a siding before heading home light engine. Presently, he had been diverted into a siding to allow another train to pass. The train had passed, but Prairie was growing impatient, waiting for the signal and the points to change.
What is taking that signalman so long? I can't sit in this siding all night.
He waited a few minutes more, before at long last he heard the points clunk into place, and thought that they had been set for him. But if he hadn't been so eager to leave, he would have noticed that the signal was still against him, because the signalman hadn't finished yet. Prairie started off. The signalman saw Prairie leaving, and he ran out and tried to shout after him to stop. But it was too late. Prairie had hurried off along the wrong line.
God damn it!
Sure enough, as Prairie continued on, he realised that he was in unfamiliar surroundings.
Wait a minute. Is this the way home?
Suddenly, Prairie saw Terrier approaching with his coaches.
Stop! Stop!
With screeching brakes, the 2 engines managed to stop with inches to spare. Both were very confused and cross.
What are you doing on my line?
I don't know. I suppose I must have lost my way.
Lost your way? How can you get lost with rails to guide you? Now back off, you interferer! I need to pass!
Prairie didn't like being spoken to in such a manner, and glared crossly back at him.
Well, not if you're going to talk like that. I need to get to the next station so I can ask the way home. So you'll have to back up.
Nonsense! My line, my priority, out of my way!
Huh, until you go back, I'm staying put.
The argument went on and on, until at last the passengers started to complain. Of course, this stopped the arguing at once. Prairie and Terrier both knew how valuable passengers were, and despite their quarrel, they had to put things right. So buffer to buffer, they reluctantly went down the line with Prairie leading the way, until they reached the last station. The two engines would have gotten away scot-free, had a bystander on the platform not commented.
Look at that! Terry must have broken down on his way here, so they sent Prairie to rescue him. Fancy that!
Prairie was secretly laughing, but Terrier just seethed with rage. Later on that night, after Terrier had cooled off from his tantrum, they made up for their earlier upset.
Look, I never meant to go on your line, Terrier. It was all a mistake, and I'm sorry if I caused you any embarrassment.
Oh. Well, I can't help the way I am, what with my size. And it shows I'm still as important as these bigger engines.
I understand. I must say it's no wonder you keep that line to yourself. Despite how I acted, I was very impressed with that view. It was smashing!
For the first time that day, Terrier managed to smile, and they spent the rest of the evening happily chatting about his line, until both he and Prairie drifted off to sleep. The two engines now see a lot of each other, and have since become quite friendly. Terrier is still defensive of his line, and guards it with tenacity, but is now quite aware that help running his line should always be welcome.